Welcome back students. In this video we are going to see about manufacturing process of monolithic ICs. Monolithic means a circuit fabricated from a single stone or a single crystal. The origin of the word monolithic is from the Greek word monos meaning single and lithos meaning stone. So monolithic IC are made in a single piece of single crystal silicon. The most important advantages of IC is reducing the cost of production of electronic circuits due to batch production. The basic steps involved in process of manufacturing process of monolithic ICs are categorized as follows. The first one is silicon wafer preparation, second one is epitaxial growth, third one oxidation, fourth one photolithography, fifth one diffusion, sixth one ion implantation, seventh one insulation techniques, eighth one metallization, and the last one assembly processing and packaging. So let us see one by one. First one, silicon wafer preparation. So the steps involved in silicon wafer preparation is the first one, crystal growth and doping, second one, ingot trimming and grinding, third one, ingot slicing, fourth one, wafer polishing and etching, and the last one, wafer cleaning. So the starting material or the primary material for crystal growth is highly purified polycrystalline silicon. The most frequently used crystal growth process is Czochralski crystal growth process. It is mainly used for producing single crystal silicon ingot. Figure shows the setup of crystal growth process. The polycrystalline silicon together a dopant is put in a quartz crucible and is then placed in a furnace. The material is then heated to a temperature in excess of the silicon melting point of 1420 degrees Celsius. A seed crystal is then dipped into a silicon melt and slowly pulled out. So when we are doing this process continuously, the seed crystal and the crucible are rotated in opposite direction in order to produce ingots of circular cross section. Normally, the diameter of the ingot is controlled by the pulling range and the melt temperature. The diameter of about 10 to 15 centimeter and the ingot length is generally in the order of 100 centimeter. So after completion the process of crystal growth, the circular ingot is separated from the process. The top and bottom portions of the ingots are cut off and the ingot surface is ground to produce an exact diameter size of 10, 12.5 and 15 centimeter. Then the ingot is sliced using a stainless steel saw blade with an industrial diamond embedded into the inner diameter cutting edge. The silicon wafers obtained from the previous process have very rough surface due to slicing operation. These wafers undergo a number of polishing steps to produce a flat surface. Finally, the wafers are thoroughly rinsed and dried. The silicon wafers will contain several hundred rectangular chips, each one containing a complete integrated circuit. These wafers are drawn into 100 to 8000 rectangular chips having size of 10 to 1 millimeter. The wafer thickness therefore is so chosen that it is possible to separate chips without breaking, and at the same time it gives sufficient mechanical strength to the IC chip. Now the next step is epitaxial growth. The word epitaxy is derived from Greek word epi, meaning upon. So, epitaxy as arranging atoms in single crystal fashion upon a single crystal substrate. The basic chemical reaction utilized for the epitaxial growth of pure silicon is the hydrogen reduction of silicon tetrachloride. So the equation is Si4 plus 2H2 gives Si plus 4HCl under 1200 degree Celsius. The above figure shows the full setup of epitaxial growth using chemical vapor. Mostly epitaxial films with a specific impurity concentration are required. This is accomplished by introducing phosphine for N-type and boron for P-type doping into silicon tetrachloride hydrogen gas stream. There are two types of epitaxial process. First one is chemical vapor deposition. Simply we can say that CVD. And the second one is molecular beam epitaxy, that is MBE. Here we are focusing with the first one, chemical vapor deposition. The complete process is carried out in a reaction chamber consisting of a long cylindrical quartz tube encircled by an RF induction coil. So it is already shown in the figure. The silicon vapors are placed on a rectangular graphite rod which is called as boat. This is then heated inductively to a temperature 1200 degree Celsius. The various gases required for the growth of desired epitaxial layers are introduced into the system through a control console. The different gases required for epitaxial layer formation are allowed in the chamber through different channels. The next process is oxidation. So in this silicon dioxide, that is SiO2, has the property of preventing the diffusion of almost all impurities through it. It uses mainly for two purposes. The first one is SiO2 is an extremely hard protective coating and is unaffected by almost all reagents except hydrofluoric acid. Thus, it stands against any contamination. And the second one is by selective etching of SiO2, diffusion of impurities through carefully defined window in the SiO2 can be accomplished to fabricate various components. Then the silicon wafers are stacked up in a quartz board and then put into a quartz furnace tube. Silicon wafers are raised to a high temperature in the range of 950 degrees Celsius to 1150 degrees Celsius, and at the same time exposed to a gas containing O2 or H2O or both. So the chemical reaction is Si plus 2H2O gives SiO2 plus 2H2. This oxidation process is called simply thermal oxidation because high temperature is used to grow the oxide layer. The thickness of the film depends on time, temperature and the moisture content. So usually the thickness of oxide layer is in the order of 0.02 to 2 micrometer. The next step is photolithography. So to develop extremely small surface patterns on the silicon wafer, the process adopted is called photolithography. This process is subdivided into two steps. One is photo mask generation and the second step is etching. The photomask generation process involves two operations. Firstly, the preparation of initial artwork or layout, and the second one is its reduction. The initial layout of an IC is normally done at a scale several hundred times larger than the final dimensions of the finished monolithic circuit. This is because a tiny chip, larger the artwork, more accurate its final mark. This initial layout is then decomposed into several mask layers. So after completion of the mask generation process, we will go to the photo etching process. Photo etching process is mainly used for the removal of SiO2, that is silicon dioxide, from the desired region, so that the desired impurities can be diffused during the process of diffusion. The wafer is coated with a film of photosensitive emulsion, that is coated photoresist KPR, and the thickness of the film is in the range of 5000 to 10,000. As I told you earlier, the silicon wafer is coated with a film of photosensitive emulsion, that is coated photoresist, which is shown in figure A, and figure B shows the exposure to ultraviolet light so that the KPR becomes polymerized. The mask is then removed and the wafer is developed by using a chemical trichloroethylene, which dissolves the unexposed region on the photoresist and leaves the pattern, which is shown in figure C. Actually, etching is a process in which the material which is not masked by the lithography process is removed. The etching technique is usually in removing unmasked materials uniformly or selectively. The unmasked regions on the wafer are etched by using etchants such as nitric acid, hydrofluoric acid. After completion of photolithography process, we will go to the diffusion process. Actually, it is an important process in the fabrication of monolithic ICs. This utilizes a high temperature furnace having a flat temperature profile of about 20 inches length. The setup of diffusion process having quartz board, which contains about 20 cleaned silicon wafers, which is pushed into the hot zone with a temperature of about 1000 degrees Celsius. The impurities normally used compounds such as boron oxide, that is B2O3, boron chloride BCl3, phosphorus pentoxide P2O5, and phosphorus oxychloride POCl3 for N and P type impurities. The impurities and nitrogen is passed through it on the way to the graphite board, that is quartz board, containing the silicon wafers. The furnace temperature is kept close to the melting point of silicon, 1000 to 1200 degrees Celsius. Impurity atoms readily move through the silicon lattice and by substitution replaces silicon atoms, going from a region of higher concentration to that of lower concentration. Substitutional diffusion takes place at higher temperatures when many atoms in the semiconductors move out of their lattice size, leaving vacancies into which impurity atoms can move in. A carrier gas such as dry oxygen or nitrogen is normally used for sweeping the impurity to the high temperature zone, and the depth of the diffusion depends upon the time of diffusion, which is normally extends to 2 hours. The next step is ion implantation. It is another technique which is used to introduce impurities into a silicon wafer. Figure shows the full setup of ion implantation process. In this process, silicon wafers are placed in a vacuum chamber and which are scanned by a high energy dopant beam, that is boron for p-type and phosphorus for n-type. The ions are accelerated by energies between 20 kV to 250 kV. As the ions strike the silicon wafers, they penetrate few distance to the wafer. The depth of penetration of any particular type of ion increases with increasing accelerating voltage. This technique has two advantages. First one is it is performed at low temperatures. The second one is in diffusion process, temperature has to be controlled over a large area inside the oven, whereas in ion implantation technique, accelerating potential and the beam current are electrically controlled from the outside. The next process is isolation techniques. Number of components are fabricated on the same IC chip. It becomes necessary to provide electrical isolation between different components and interconnections. Commonly used isolation techniques are PN junction isolation and dielectric isolation.